Bitcoin is still super bullish, guys, to be honest. I'm still expecting higher prices to come on Bitcoin. However, I'm gonna give you guys right now the best two long trades on Bitcoin. I'm gonna also talk about Ethereum and why Ethereum has been dropping and is dropping right now on the daily time frame as we opened the new weekly candle. So let's get right into the TA. As you can see, here's Bitcoin actually been doing wonderfully since we last kept it, or since we last made a video, I think 3 days ago on Friday. I've said that Bitcoin is clearly super bullish, guys, and I'm still expecting, to be honest, higher prices to come. If we get a quick recap on what happened exactly on Bitcoin, we basically saw Bitcoin bounce from our green zone that we've been speaking about since, I think, at the end of August. And then once we saw this bounce, the grace bounce at $107,000, I've started flipping super bullish the moment and the key area where we broken out of $113,000. As you can see, this important resistance line. I've said, guys, that once Bitcoin hits and breaks 113, I'm expecting, to be honest, $120,000 as the target on Bitcoin, and we actually saw a great pump from that area since we broken out of $113,000. We saw Bitcoin pump to, I think, around $116.8 to $117,000, and I'm still, to be honest, expecting higher to come on Bitcoin. However, we need to hold 113, the most important critical line, which we actually broke to become bullish. We need to hold that line to keep the same expectations as us going $120,000. However, let me right now talk about some great longs to be had on Bitcoin in, I think, the next couple of hours, especially because we've got the New York session opening in, I think, 30 minutes. So let's get right and talk about Bitcoin before I move to Ethereum and talk about why Ethereum has been dropping. Basically, as you can see on the lower time frame, if I go to the 15-minute time frame and take a look on Bitcoin on this section only, once or since we've broken out of $113,000, as you can see, I basically have two ideas for a long on Bitcoin. The first one is very quite simple, to be honest. We've got the NPOC sitting at around 114 point, I think, $270,000 as you can see on this line. So basically what I'm waiting for is for Bitcoin to hit this $114,250,000 and then reclaim 115. If I see this reclaim, I'm gonna be waiting for a strong bullish rise on Bitcoin. So basically this is the first idea I've got. I'm waiting for Bitcoin to create a new daily low, which is basically under 114.6, hit 114 point, I think, 250, and then reclaim 115 for a great long to be had on Bitcoin. This is my closest long I'm looking at or looking for on Bitcoin. However, say Bitcoin right now drops, loses 114.6, hits 114.2, and then doesn't reclaim 115. Basically, I'm gonna be waiting for lower to come on Bitcoin. The next closest long to be had on Bitcoin, which is a bit hard, to be honest, however, would actually give us the highest outcome or highest return based on this idea. If we see this whole move down to $113,000, I've mentioned that 113 is the most critical area to hold as support. It was a major resistance line which we need to actually hold into as support. So basically the idea is us hitting the anchored view up. This is an anchored view up tool that shows us this uptrend that we've made since hitting $17,000. We've got the line sitting right now at, I think, 112.5, and we also got the 113.1 important resistance support flip, as you can see. So basically the idea is if Bitcoin doesn't see this small bounce, the first idea I've mentioned, maybe we can actually see a full rotation down, hitting 113, liquidating and taking all these liquidity sitting at I think around 113.2, hitting also the anchored view up at 112.5, and then reclaiming 113. I think this is a much harder trade to get into. However, this would actually give us the best return on investment. So basically these are the two ideas for a long. I've got a small long at hitting 114.2 and a much better long or stronger long if Bitcoin is kind enough to go hit $113,000 again, or go below or wick below $113,000. Now let me get into Ethereum and why Ethereum has been dropping. If you haven't been watching my videos lately, I've made it very clear that I'm only waiting for two major trades on Ethereum. This was actually back when Ethereum was at, I think, 4,400. I've said that basically I'm not gonna long or short Ethereum except or only if it goes to 4,700 or it hits 4200 or below. I had these lines I was waiting for basically, and I actually took a short once Ethereum hit that level of resistance. I've said that this is an important level of resistance, us having huge liquidity and also hitting the previous value area low of this previous range, as you can see. So basically this was the easiest trade to be had, although the market was super bullish. Although Bitcoin, I'm still expecting higher to come on Bitcoin, I actually wasn't scared to be taking this short on Ethereum. That doesn't mean me being bearish on Ethereum. I just saw a perfect reaction on a level that I was waiting for, and I actually took that line. Now let me get into where's the closest, to be honest, long on Ethereum. Basically, I don't see a best or a perfect long on Ethereum, to be honest. The closest one, maybe if we use the volume profile tool. Let's get into the volume profile pool, and we actually take it all the way down, or all the way since we've broken out $4,000. We can clearly see that maybe the best long to be had on Ethereum is either a reclaim of 4600 or waiting for a much deeper retracement to 4300. So I don't think Ethereum is the best token, to be honest, for longing right now. Maybe if you want to long, maybe it's better to long Bitcoin. And thanks for watching, guys.